The first time I felt like Lamar was when I joined the Navy, and I signed up and I was doing my paperwork, and I had every form that I've always filled out. They have, do you have an alias? And I always put Martin Hernandez, and so I had done the same thing in this instance, but there was a checkbox for ethnicity or race, I think it was, and I put Hispanic, and the guy who was doing all the paperwork, the personnel man from the Navy, took white out, and he took Hispanic off, and he says, "No, you're African American." And I said, "No, I'm not African American. My parents are from Mexico. I'm Hispanic." And he said, "No, you're African American." And I said, "No, I'm Hispanic." And I explained to him, "Look, my alias is Martin Hernandez. My parents are from Mexico. I am not African American." He said, "You will follow orders and you will be African American." And that was the first time I became African American. But in terms of like the transition to being black, it really happened when I met my biological family, my dad, my biological sister, my biological nephew, who was also named Lamar. And again, living in Connecticut, I started seeing things that I just hadn't really, if I felt them, I probably suppressed them in the past, but I had to just deal with, because I was an adult now and I didn't have adults protecting me. So I had to deal with it by myself. And so it was in Connecticut where I kind of started to transition into being black. And I hated the name Lamar. It sounded too black, and I didn't like black people. I hated them. And just the idea of embracing that name felt like I was black, and I didn't want to be black. And so, but as I learned to embrace who I was, I started to appreciate the name Lamar, and I love the name Lamar, and because it emphatically is somewhat almost of a political statement that, yeah, I'm black and I'm proud, and I'm not ashamed of that.
Our mom was always political, because she always made sure that things were, that she tried to make things fair and equitable for everybody.
I used to go and be a volunteer and the candidates, and I used to go to vote, and I used to take Lamar with me when I used to go and sign in voting at La Ford house from our house. And since he was a little kid, he used to tell me, "You know what? I'm gonna be in politics so I can become President of the United States." I never forget that.
Growing up, I would ride my bike around the neighborhood, and there were people who had decals on their windows that said no on 710, and I didn't know what that meant until probably around middle school. So through this neighbor, I started getting more involved. I'd go around knocking on doors and telling people about the 710 extension and why they should oppose it, because they were going to demolish our homes, and it wasn't right, and we need to protect our neighborhood. And then I'd go to these meetings, and some of them were in Spanish and some of them were in English, where they would try to educate the community about the 710 extension. And sometimes you'd have these Caltrans consultants. They had consultants from everywhere across California coming to try to convince the poor people in El Sereno that the 710 extension was the best thing for them.
While the state wanted to give us money for this house, I just felt it was wrong that they were going to just demolish all of our homes and build a freeway and build some sound walls. And by the time they got to the white community in South Pasadena and Pasadena, they were going to go underground and protect everybody's home and give them every opportunity to maintain their quality of life. But right here in the Mexican community, you were just going to ram through everyone's house and build a freeway. And so to me, that's shaped my understanding of the world, that there's just it's not fair. And if it's not fair and it's not right, you don't have to just sit there and take it.
Like right now, we're focusing on homelessness here in Antioch, and the contempt that I see towards the homeless just is unbelievable to me. And so, I don't think that's right. We should be defending our most vulnerable in our community.
And I want you the best. Every time I see he's doing what he wants to do, a politic, because I want him to have his dream come true.
I'm running for mayor because we need strong leadership. We need people who are willing to stand up, even when it's not popular to stand up, and have the tenacity and the courage to remain steadfast on important issues. And that's why I'm running for mayor.
He has the experience growing up in a Mexican household. He has that knowledge. There are differences, and everyone should be treated the same. And that's how he grew up, is everyone is the same.
I'm Lamar Thorpe, and I'm running to be your mayor here in Antioch.